Welcome to From Overwhelm to Influence. I'm Angela Taylor, co founder and partner with the Dignitas Agency, and we're here in Module 3, which is decision making. Leaders tell us all the time that where overwhelm gets in the way, it gets personal because the stakes become real.
And the thing about decision making, it's where the rubber really, really hits the road. And one of the things I'm noticing in organizations is how often leaders defer decision making. So when they actually have the scope, the power, and the responsibility to make a choice, they don't. And they either open it up to committee decision or they keep kicking the can down the road. And one of the things that we want to distinguish in this module that will help with your ability to actually own responsibility for the decision, take the decision, and stand in the accountability of the decision is that will help you understand that if you're overwhelmed by a decision that you have to make, that's not indecision. It's probably an indicator that the decision requires a different process of arriving at the decision. So often leaders get stuck when they over-index on one intelligence and negate or abandon the other. And what we're going to talk about in this module is how you bring multiple intelligences together so that you can arrive at a decision you can feel confident in and stand behind.
Because the truth of the matter is, they're not mutually exclusive. We work with both.
Yes. And, we always want to, in this day and age, we can actually say the word intuition and people won't like look at you crazy. But the actual, again, going from common knowledge that there is this thing called intuition to common practice where we're trusting it, using it, cultivating it, and often letting it lead. Because in complexity, you have to sense into things. The logic, the data won't be there yet. So you actually want to, maybe turn up the volume on that intuition. They're complementary intelligences that most people don't know how to use in a complementary way. So in this module, what we're going to do is help you understand that logic organizes facts and constraints, which we all know, but intuition actually helps you sense into the coherence you're actually trying to get to and timing. So logic really, really favors control, but intuition is actually what ignites coherence. So one of the things that we want you to understand is that when one of these dominates, if logic is dominating, you're going to spiral into analysis, which we see very often. You can probably watch any conversation in your organization today and see that happening. But if you don't have that logic and you're only in an intuitive place, you're going to leap without any grounding. So part of what we want to help you do is find the ability to balance and discern how to use each of these sources of intelligence.
Well, one of the things that we take a lot of pride in with the Dignitas agency is helping our clients build new mental models. And we do that by adding new tools to your toolkit. And so we have another tool for you in this module. In this module, you'll learn about the decision compass.
Yeah, and like any good consulting organization, we're going to have at least one four quadrant framework for you. And so this one, again, this may not be new to you, but how are you integrating it? And how are you integrating it from the place of the distinctions that we're calling out in each of these modules? So the first quadrant is about logic, like what's true and what's constrained. It's amazing how resistant we are to actually name what's true. So even though we have logic as a source, we don't tell the truth about the data and the constraints. So how do we actually say what's true and not be afraid of the answer? The second thing or the second quadrant is intuition. So what's aligned and what feels off? A lot of times this is our gut feeling or just something that we can't explain with logic. And because we can't explain it with logic, we think we should dismiss it. That's absolutely where we're leaving insight on the table. What we want to be able to do is follow this intuition, understand it so that we can start to articulate it in a logical structure. The third place is context. So how often do we apply logic in a situation that is just not a good fit for that logic? So part of what we're trying to really understand is what's the context, who's impacted, what is the pattern that's operating right now that we need to be paying attention to, and probably even more importantly, people talk about being able to look around the corner. Well, guess what? You'll get better at that if you can start to pattern map. You can start to see what patterns are emerging because that's really where the decisions become important, not when you're looking back to make a decision, but when you can understand what's behind you, but also sense into what's ahead of you. And then finally, the fourth quadrant is around risk. So what's reversible? What's the smallest and wisest move we can make right now? And for a lot of us, I don't know about you, but we do an exercise with the Dignitas agency where we have people um, take a risky move intentionally, knowing that it might not go well. And it is incredibly hard emotionally for people to do that because we're all so built to avoid challenge, to avoid error, to avoid making mistakes. So, what that also means is we're wired to avoid growth. And so, what we want to be talking about in this fourth quadrant is what is a safe to fail risk? What is a risk that will have you have the potential to grow without jeopardizing too much of what you're up to? So, those are the four quadrants that we'll be introducing to you in the decision compass.
So, as you learn more about these safe to fail risks and you learn how to leverage and deploy this decision compass, you'll actually also practice communicating decisions cleanly.
Yeah, and that's this is another thing that you can observe probably in every meeting that you go to is the moment someone starts to over explain, this is where we think they're leaving the territory of clean communication. And often this over explaining is a signal that you're still trying to figure it out for yourself. You're still negotiating with yourself around, do I want to do this or do I not want to do this? And so as you get more clear and more confident and more willing to stand inside of your decisions, you'll be able to communicate more cleanly, which actually helps you decide with more clarity, more commitment without collapsing inside of the process. And it actually creates the followership that people are looking for in their leaders.